We live in a world that praises comfort as the ultimate prize. A soft bed, a secure paycheck, a predictable routine, these are the things we are taught to chase. They're presented as the hallmarks of success, the signals that we've made it, that we're safe, secure, and stable. But what if the very safety we worship is slowly strangling us? What if the walls we build to protect ourselves become the bars of a prison we cannot escape? The prison of comfort is the most dangerous prison of all, because it doesn't look like a prison, it feels like a sanctuary. You walk inside it willingly, smiling, relieved, even proud. And yet, once inside, you begin to feel it. The slow suffocation, the invisible chains, the quiet erosion of your hunger for life. The truth is this: comfort does not give you freedom, it gives you sedation. It numbs the sharp edges of your fear, yes, but it also dulls the blazing fire of your potential. Inside comfort's embrace, you forget that you once had dreams so big they scared you. You forget that your heart once beat with curiosity, daring you to explore, to risk, to break boundaries. Comfort whispers, stay here, it's safe, it's easy, and for a time, it feels good. But soon, days turn into years, and one day you look around and realize that while the world outside has grown, you have stayed the same. This is the greatest tragedy of comfort. It doesn't kill you suddenly. It doesn't knock on your door and take your life. It erodes you slowly, quietly, day by day. It steals your hunger, your drive, your capacity to take risks. It convinces you that tomorrow can always hold your dreams, so you never chase them today. And so your potential rots inside you like fruit left too long on a shelf. The prison of comfort is built on good intentions. It tells you that safety is the goal, that predictability equals happiness, that a life without fear is a life worth living. But in truth, fear is not your enemy, it is your compass. Fear shows you where growth waits, where your untapped power lies. The absence of fear is not peace, it is stagnation. And so we must ask ourselves, is this safety we cling to really living? Or is it a slow kind of dying, a quiet surrender of the life we were meant to live? Comfort numbs your ambition. Think about the last time you stayed in a job you didn't love, a relationship that didn't challenge you, or a routine that made you feel stuck. You stayed because it was easy, familiar, predictable. And while part of you knew you weren't thriving, another part whispered, at least it's safe. This is the mind's trick. It confuses the absence of danger with the presence of fulfillment, but those two are not the same. The human brain is wired for survival. Thousands of years of evolution trained us to seek shelter, food, and safety from predators. Discomfort once meant danger, starvation, attack, death. But in the modern world, discomfort rarely signals death. More often it signals growth, yet our ancient wiring hasn't caught up. We still cling to predictability, avoiding risk as though it were a tiger lurking in the shadows. And because of this, we stop reaching, stop growing, stop becoming. Routine becomes a double-edged sword. On one hand, it keeps us efficient, helping us conserve energy. On the other, it creates grooves in the mind so deep that we stop exploring anything beyond them. We become prisoners to the same thought patterns, the same actions, the same results. It feels safe, but it's really a slow burial. Look at history. Do we remember the names of those who played it safe, who never risked, who stayed hidden in their comfort zones? No, we remember those who dared, those who risked ridicule, failure, even death, in pursuit of something greater. Every story of greatness, whether it's a scientist, an artist, an entrepreneur, or a revolutionary, begins not in comfort, but in discomfort. Discomfort is the birthplace of discovery. Comfort zones shrink over time. What once felt spacious and secure begins to tighten. The longer you stay, the less you are willing to risk. You convince yourself the world beyond your small circle is dangerous, when in truth, it is your refusal to step out that makes you weak. Imagine muscles never exercised, they atrophy. The same is true of courage. The less you use it, the less you have. And so, the psychology of comfort is a trap. It feels like freedom, but it is imprisonment. It feels like security, but it is decay. And the most dangerous part, you won't even notice it until years have passed and you realize you have been slowly dying with your eyes open. So how do you escape? The first step is not dramatic. It is not quitting your job tomorrow, burning your bridges, or leaving everything behind. The first step is simply awareness, recognizing that comfort has become a cage. Once you see the bars, you can begin to test their strength. Discomfort is the key. Not reckless chaos, but deliberate discomfort, the kind that stretches you without breaking you. Start small. Wake up an hour earlier. Speak up in the meeting you usually stay silent in. Take the class you've always been curious about. These small acts of discomfort rewire your brain, teaching it that risk does not equal death, but growth. Each step chips away at the illusion that safety is the highest good. Fear is your guide. When you feel that tightening in your chest, that whisper that says, "Don't do it," pay attention. Often, that is not a warning of danger but a signpost of growth. The things we fear most are often the things we most need to face. Public speaking, asking for help, starting something new, these are the arenas where your power waits. And here's the secret. Discomfort eventually becomes your new comfort. What terrifies you today becomes ordinary tomorrow. The stage that once paralyzed you becomes the place you thrive. The gym that once intimidated you becomes the place you feel most alive. This is how growth works. It transforms the terrifying into the familiar, but only if you dare to step in. The life you dream of will never be built within the walls of comfort. It will always demand a leap, always require that you choose risk over safety. And yes, failure will come. But failure in pursuit of growth is infinitely better than safety in the arms of stagnation. Failure teaches, strengthens, and reshapes you. Safety only dulls you. Every time you choose discomfort, you reclaim a piece of yourself. You remind your soul that you are not here to survive, you are here to live. You begin to build the courage, resilience, and strength that make life worth living. You begin to see that the prison was never locked, that the door has always been open, waiting for you to step through. There comes a point when we must look honestly at the patterns of our lives and ask, are we truly alive, or are we merely surviving inside a carefully padded cage? Too often, the answer is painful to admit. We live in routines that numb us, patterns that repeat endlessly until days blur into weeks. Weeks blur into years, and suddenly we look back wondering where the time went. That is the silent theft of comfort. It doesn't rip life away from you in one dramatic blow. It erodes you quietly, one small compromise at a time. You don't feel the loss at first. You tell yourself it's fine. I'll try later, I'll risk tomorrow. And then tomorrow becomes a year, a decade, a lifetime. That is the cost of staying safe. The psychology behind this is both simple and powerful. Our brains are wired to seek familiarity because predictability meant survival for our ancestors. The unknown meant danger. The wild meant risk. So, even now, when our survival is rarely threatened, our minds cling to the familiar because it feels safe. But what once kept us alive now keeps us small. Comfort whispers lies that you are not ready, that failure would destroy you, that risk will break you. And every time you listen, the walls of the prison grow taller, stronger, harder to escape. But what if you understood that those whispers were not truth, but echoes of an outdated survival system? What if you realized that fear doesn't mean stop, fear often means go? Fear is not a sign that you are weak. It is a compass pointing to the exact place where your growth lives. Think about it. When have you grown the most in your life? Was it when things were easy, predictable, safe? Or was it when you were stretched, tested, even broken? Growth rarely arrives in comfort. It lives in the storm, in the risk, in the leap you think you cannot make but choose to take anyway. Consider this. The greatest inventors, leaders, and visionaries were not people who worshipped safety. They were people who walked into discomfort willingly, even when the world doubted them. They understood that staying safe meant staying invisible, but stepping out meant unlocking the impossible. History does not remember those who stayed comfortable. It remembers those who dared. And while the world may not record your name in books, your own life will bear witness to your courage or your fear. When you reach the end, will you say, I stayed safe, but I never really lived? Or will you say, I risked, I fell, I rose, and I lived fully? The prison of comfort also disguises itself in the language of responsibility. It says, be practical. Don't aim too high. Just be grateful for what you have. And yes, gratitude matters. But gratitude without courage becomes a trap. Being grateful for where you are should never stop you from moving toward where you could be. Gratitude is not meant to chain you to the present. It is meant to strengthen you as you walk into the unknown. The difference is subtle but life-changing. And here is another truth. Staying in comfort costs you more than leaving it ever could. The cost of comfort is your potential, your passion, your fire. The cost of risk is temporary pain, temporary failure, temporary fear. One cost is permanent, the other is fleeting. One robs you silently until nothing remains. The other wounds you briefly but teaches you strength, resilience, and courage. Which cost will you pay? Because you will pay either way. There is no free path. Safety feels free, but it charges you everything that makes life worth living. Think of all the times you avoided risk because it felt too uncertain. Maybe you didn't take the chance at love because rejection felt unbearable. Maybe you didn't chase the dream job because failure seemed inevitable. Maybe you didn't pursue the passion because people might laugh. And yet, here you are, still longing, still dreaming, still restless. That is proof that your heart will never be satisfied in a cage. You can silence it for a season, but it will return again and again until you either answer the call or live with regret. And regret, more than failure, is the heaviest weight you can carry. The truth is, life will not wait for you. Time does not pause because you are hesitant. Every day you stay in comfort, the world moves on, opportunities pass, and your story remains unwritten. That is the real tragedy, not that you failed, but that you never tried. Failure, at least, gives you a story. Failure, at least, teaches you something. Failure, at least, leads to growth. But comfort leaves you with nothing but the aching emptiness of wondering what could have been. So ask yourself now, what cage are you sitting in? Is it the comfort of a job that drains you, but pays predictably? Is it the comfort of staying silent when your truth burns inside you? Is it the comfort of never risking your heart because you fear it breaking? Whatever your cage is, you must see it clearly for what it is. Not protection, but imprisonment. And the longer you sit, the heavier those bars will feel. Yet here is the beautiful truth: no matter how long you've been trapped, no matter how deeply you've settled into safety, the door is still open. You can walk out at any moment. It is not too late. And maybe walking out doesn't mean leaping off a cliff tomorrow. Maybe it means one brave step, one uncomfortable conversation, one risk you've been putting off, one act of courage that reminds you you are alive. Because it is not about breaking free all at once, it is about choosing freedom one step at a time. And with each step, the prison loses its power. With each step, the fear grows weaker, and your strength grows louder. With each step, you begin to remember who you really are. Not a prisoner, but a warrior, a dreamer, a soul meant to live fully. And when you taste that freedom, even for a moment, you will never see safety the same way again. You will understand that the comfort you once clung to was not life, it was death disguised as peace. And you will hunger for the unknown, for the challenge, for the risk that sets your blood on fire. Because once you've tasted life beyond the bars, no prison, however comfortable, will ever satisfy you again. So let us end with this truth: safety is not where you will find your greatness. Safety is where your fire goes out quietly in the dark. The prison of comfort whispers that tomorrow will be the same as today, and that is its curse. You were not born for endless sameness. You were born for the unknown, for the wild, for the risk that makes you alive. And deep inside you already know this. You feel it in those restless nights, when your heart beats with an ache you cannot name. That ache is not boredom, it is the sound of your soul reminding you that you were meant for more. Your destiny has never lived within the padded walls of safety. It has always waited just beyond them. The question is no longer whether safety is slowly killing you, it is. The real question is, will you allow it to, or will you finally choose discomfort, choose risk, choose the terrifying freedom of stepping beyond your cage? Because the truth is, the door has never been locked. You have carried the key all along. It is your willingness to try, to leap, to risk, one step, and the walls lose their power. And yes, that step feels impossible at first. Fear will rise. Doubt will scream. Your mind will create 1,000 reasons to stay. But you must understand, those voices are the chains of comfort tightening around you. They will tell you to wait, to prepare, to be absolutely certain before you act. But certainty is an illusion, and waiting is the silent assassin of dreams. The longer you wait, the stronger the prison becomes. The longer you stay safe, the harder it becomes to leave. And yet, the moment you move just one step, the bars begin to crumble. This is the paradox of comfort. It feels like safety, but it is decay. And this is the paradox of risk. It feels like danger, but it is life. The very things that scare you are the things that will set you free. The stage you fear, the leap you avoid, the decision you postpone, these are the doorways to your growth. Behind them lies the version of yourself you were meant to meet. And if you never walk through, you will never know the strength, brilliance, and power that has always been within you. Because that step, though it feels like death to the person you've been, is life to the person you are becoming. You deserve more than the prison of comfort. You deserve the fire of growth, the exhilaration of risk, the fullness of life. Imagine the joy of looking back, years from now, and knowing you chose to live fully, rather than stay quietly safe. Imagine the pride of scars earned, of failures survived, of victories that only came because you dared to try. That is the life worth living, not the muted hum of safety, but the roaring song of courage. And the moment you decide that comfort is no longer your master, you will find that freedom was waiting all along. The bars of your cage were never locked. They were only waiting for you to walk out. Beyond them is your life, the real one, the one you've dreamed of, the one that has been calling to you all along. So walk, step into the unknown. Let the fire of risk replace the numbness of safety. For though safety may keep you alive, only courage will make you truly live.